to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and I'm going to read way too much into John Wick. With John Wick 2 being just around the corner, I was super excited to go back to this first movie, watch it to read way too much into it. And when I did that, here's what I saw in this movie that I thought was really interesting. You have John Wick, and you have Theon Greyjoy. I forget his actual name in the movie, but it's Theon Greyjoy, and I didn't realize that the first time I watched this movie. Fascinating. John Wick is kind of a smart guy. He understands the underworld from which he came. He understood who he was in it. He understood his place in it. This was a really focused, strong, disciplined guy. He left that world for love, married a wonderful woman. She passed away of an illness. She left him a dog to anchor some love in his heart. And then you have Theon Greyjoy, who's just an idiot. He doesn't even know who he is. He doesn't understand the very world he was born into or that he was a part of, and he had no idea who John Wick was. So when he stole John Wick's car, broke into John Wick's house, killed John Wick's dog, that last gift from his wife, he had no idea the slumbering giant that he had awoken. He had no idea the thunder that he had called down on his own life. I mean, the lack of understanding in this guy was mind-boggling. And it reminds me, in the book of Acts, there's this story of Paul going around, he's casting out demons, he's healing the sick. Why is he doing that? He knows who he is in his relationship with Jesus. He understands that spiritual world. Then you had these copycat people who just wanted the same prestige as Paul, so they found a guy who was demonically possessed. These 7 people came out to cast out these demons, and this one demonically possessed guy beat up all 7 of these guys, stripped them naked, and threw them out on the street. And this is what the demonically possessed guy said: Jesus, we know. Paul, we know. And you, we don't know. Isn't it amazing that they knew Paul? That because Paul knew who he was in Jesus, because Paul understood that world and his place in it, that fear reverberated through those demons, that they knew who Paul was. To me, that's such a fascinating thing. When Theon Greyjoy picked on John Wick, and everybody figured out it was John Wick who he picked on, fear reverberated through this underworld because they knew the name John Wick. They knew who this guy was. They knew what he was capable of. And they knew the thunder and the pain that Theon Greyjoy had called down. And I just thought that was such an interesting thing to take a look at. Now, John Wick was prepared for this world. He was prepared to step back into it. He was prepared to take care of business. And as you watch this movie, he gets business taken care of. And Theon Greyjoy gets taken out like a punk because he had absolutely no idea how to operate in his own world. And what that makes me think about in my world and in my life is understanding who I am in that relationship with Jesus. It's all too easy to call on God when we're at the end of our rope, when things are going bad. But sometimes when things are going well, yeah, it's sometimes harder to call on God. But when things are going well, those are the most important times to be calling on Him and cultivating that relationship with Him, because those are the times where we get built up so strong. We get built up down in our hearts and in our spirit. We get built up and made strong so that when trouble comes to strike, we can reverberate fear because we know where we stand with God. We know who we are with Jesus. And when we stand that way, it sends reverberations through that world. And as I was watching John Wick, that's something that really stood out to me. Now, if you watch John Wick, what did you read into that movie? Make sure to let me know in the comments. While you're there, hit the subscribe button and become a Durbanian. And you notice that little bell that's right next to the subscribe button. Click that bell. That's the notify button. That way you'll get notified the moment I drop a new video and things like that. Like this video, share this video. I'm Durbin. Thank you for checking out Durbania.